this movie is overhated and I don't understand why. I liked it. I don't care. The other Netflix movie that I got to see that I didn't make a review for was Happy Gilmore 2. And honestly, this is the one movie I really wanted to talk about the most. I just got done recording a review for Fixed and K-Pop Demon Hunters. So now it's on to Happy Gilmore 2, the other Netflix movie that I saw. And again, and I said this in the opening, I really enjoyed this film, and I just do not understand what people saw in this movie to make it say it was one of the worst movies ever made. I want to make a series of videos where I talk about aspects and elements of a film, like why I would like these things and why I like other things. And honestly, Happy Gilmore 2 is not the type of movie that I would say is one of the worst movies ever. For something to be one of the worst movies ever, it would genuinely not need to try. I can at least say that Happy Gilmore 2 tried to be good, and it wanted to pay homage to the first movie. It has been a very long time since the first Happy Gilmore came out, and some people would even argue, what is the point of this film? But you know, they just decided to make it, and that's whatever at this point. Now, I'm actually a really big Happy Gilmore fan. Happy Gilmore is actually one of my favorite movies from Adam Sandler, or Happy Madison, the production team that makes them. I really loved Happy Gilmore 1, and when they were making the second one, I was actually excited. It was one of my favorite movies ever, and I personally feel like they did not disappoint me on this one. Story takes place, I think, the same amount of time as the actual movie. It takes place like 20-ish years later in the future. Happy Gilmore is a pro golfer. He's gotten a lot of chances to make lots of money. He has 5 children. And he's a very happy man. He's very successful until one day his wife tragically passes away, and more like she was killed in a golfing accident by Happy. There is a lot of legal issues, and he came down on his luck and really is now just struggling just to get by and to support his family. And he's now kind of like a washed up golfer. That's just where we see Happy Gilmore at the beginning of this film. He has 1 daughter and 4 sons who all pretty much act like the old Happy Gilmore, and you know, we'll talk about, you know, acting and casting and all that later. But he has this 1 daughter who he loves a lot, almost the most, but you know, he loves his family equally. But he wants to see her daughter achieve her dreams and become a dancer. And Happy Gilmore, being, you know, the nice, you know, supporting father that he is, he wants to support her and actually help her achieve this, but he needs to raise a lot of money. So he tries to get back into golfing. Eventually, this spirals into a crazy story. With the passing of his wife, Happy is now an alcoholic, and this plays into his character because he's always drinking a lot. He's drinking out of these very weird objects. He's also working at this grocery store, and people approach him and everything. And that's where he also meets a character who wants him to get into this new golfing sport, which I'm pretty sure is called Maxi Golf, but let's just call it Pro Golf for the sake of this review. He's approached by this guy who wants him to play, but Happy Gilmore declines it, and he's like, fuck off. Eventually, when he's trying to win some money, he tries to, you know, play golf with these other guys, and Eric Andre is there, and there's a lot of characters in this film, a lot of casting choices that are crazy, but he then gets into a situation where he like nearly kills people, and he gets into some more legal issues. He's on the news again, you know, he just can't catch a break. And also, you know, this was caused primarily because he was drinking so much, and because of that, he now has to go to rehab and everything, and he has to complete this program because he has to pay off his charges. The only way to do that is to go into rehab. And what's funny is the rehab person in charge, you know, the leader or whatever, he's played by Ben Stiller, or Steeler. He actually comes back for this film and reprises his role. And I want to say that right now because there's a lot of people who come back to reprise their role. Pretty much everyone possible reprises their role. Although unfortunately, one character did pass away recently, and I'll get to that soon. Carl Weathers also passed away, and it's possible he could have played a minor role in this film because this movie is really goofy. And I don't really know if he did had some, you know, footage left, and you know, he did record something for this because he did pass away right before this film, but that's besides the point. There is a lot of people who come back for this film. Afterwards, Happy needs to make some more money, so he decides he's actually going to practice seriously, you know, actually join a golfing tournament, you know, the one thing he's good at, and win some big money. And this is really where the plot really begins. I want to start by saying the movie's, you know, pacing is really good. I thought it was very fun, very fluid. They did take some time to, you know, remind people of certain events and characters, and I feel like they did it mainly because it's been so long since this movie came out. And funny enough, I've actually seen the first Happy Gilmore recently before watching the second one, So I didn't really need a big reminder, but for a lot of other people, they probably did. It does mess with the story's, pacing and, like, flow of the film, but really, it's not a big deal because the flashbacks that they used were like 5 seconds long at most, just to be like, oh, I remember you. Oh, you're that guy from this scene in the movie. Like, the guy who told Happy Gilmore about his charges from the first movie that he kicked through the door comes back. They really brought back everyone. And let's just talk about that right now, the characters. Everyone pretty much comes back. Adam Sandler is Happy Gilmore. He's really just the same person. They do this thing in the movie where Adam Sandler is like the most attractive, strongest human being on the planet, and they continue that trend in this film. Although I don't really know too much about attractive, but he's definitely like still doing his crazy human, like, crazy strength moments in this film, and it's very funny to see. Definitely brings back memories of the old Happy Madison movies that I saw growing up. Adam Sandler also got his actual 2 daughters and wives to be in this film, and I really like that he does this. Adam Sandler seems like he's a really good family man. I could be totally fucking wrong. I mean, I know I've heard so many stories about him being the nicest man ever, and he's really nice to everyone he meets. Funny enough, Rob Schneider is also in this film. Now, I could rant about how Rob Schneider is an actual piece of shit, but I'm not going to. I just assume that was his friend. He probably had a plan for him in his film. He was also in this movie for literally 5 seconds. It's not a big deal. I guess Rob Schneider needs some money because I don't know how he's going to get it any other way. I was going to save this for later in the plot, but this movie has Haley Joel Osment, and I'm really glad that I got to see him. For anyone who doesn't know, he's the voice actor of Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and he got into some crazy controversy recently, like not that long ago, with him being arrested, and I can only hope that his job with Disney is still fine. But I really am glad that I got to see him in this film. It really was a very big surprise to be like, what the heck? He's in this film. And the only reason why I was saying that, because before that, this film had other characters. And again, I wanted to say when they eventually show up in the plot, but it doesn't really matter right now. This movie also had Travis Kelce, Bad Bunny, and Eminem of all people. It had the guy from Hot Ones, Post Malone, Guy Fieri. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but Eric Andre, like, what the absolute fuck? I can't really go over every character because there's so many, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but I just thought it was crazy to see. So this was probably very expensive, and I will talk about expenses later. I don't really take these kind of movies too seriously when it comes to their acting performances. I think Adam Sandler is probably the most seasoned actor, and he does a pretty good job. It doesn't really like, make you want to stand up and clap or anything. It's not like a tearjerker for his performance or anything. There is some moments where he does get, very sad and emotional, and you do really feel it. But again, this movie isn't winning any Oscars for acting. I will say 90% of this film was comedy, so it's really hard to take that seriously. But I was fairly entertained. I didn't really mind it too much. Nothing was really standing out as being too insulting. It's almost like everyone did just as good a job as Adam Sandler, but slightly less because Adam was like the main show. And if I haven't mentioned it before, obviously Christopher McDonald coming back as Shooter McGavin comes back to play a very interesting role in this film. He's still like Happy Gilmore's rival, but there's a point where they do need to work together, and I actually do like where they were going with this. I will say the energy of this film was also very good. It had the same amount of energy and comedic tone as the first Happy Gilmore. Like, I could definitely watch this again and find it just as funny, because again, I really love Happy Gilmore, and I really love how wacky and crazy it is. So this movie trying to match that and doing a pretty good job at it really made me happy, and I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. It didn't feel like it was a cash grab like a lot of people like to say. I personally don't see this movie as that. For what I'm seeing, this movie just wanted to be a good little sequel where everyone gets back together, tells a brand new story, and have fun with it. Now, a lot of people could say that's stupid or whatever, that's a waste of time, this is obviously a cash grab, this is a pointless sequel, it's been so long, all this and that. But I'll try to just say it all here. I just think people took this movie way too serious. If you saw the first Happy Gilmore movie, you cannot take it seriously. We're talking about a movie where Happy Gilmore is launching golf balls at the speed of light, not literally, but launching them so fast that he joins a golf league, and shoots it off people's foots and everything, or shooting it off of cars, and it's a goofy ass movie. This movie should never have been taken serious, and I just can't understand why I was seeing so many people upset with this film. Now again, I am a little biased, I will admit, but man, some people were tearing into this film and saying it's one of the worst things they have ever saw. But those same people who think this movie thought that The Little Mermaid was an amazing movie, so what the fuck would I know, I guess. So yeah, I've always will say this, everyone has their own tastes and preferences when it comes to films. We're all different, that's really fine. We're all gonna have different opinions. And my opinion, this movie was just fine. I didn't think the movie was too long. Well, they did set up things up naturally and things did progress at a nice rate. It didn't really feel boring at all, really. I really had fun watching this. The third act of the film does kind of get really, really goofy to the point where it's just like, oh wow, that's like cartoonishly goofy, and it doesn't really match what the type of goofiness that Adam Sandler usually goes for. And I know I just said that Adam Sandler movies like this are always supposed to be goofy, so no one should be surprised. There's something in this film that they do, and they introduce this concept that is a bit too goofy. But it's nothing that'll be like, oh, turn off the movie, pause it, whatever, it's over. It's nothing like that. It kind of reminds me of Space Jam 2, where it's just like an all-star game at the end. It seemed like this movie also didn't really cheap out on a lot of things. They went to a lot of places. There was a lot of moments where they're like the stage designs and set pieces that they used didn't really look too cheap. And yes, stages and designs, because again, this was like Space Jam 2 where the extreme golf was just like a video game. It definitely didn't look that cheap at all. It definitely feel like they put a lot of money and effort into this. I remember the music being pretty okay, but I can't really say if I remember too much from it. Also, its theme isn't like anything to really take home. I don't really think there was one. I guess you can just say this movie was about loving your family, and that's about it, I guess. So one of the last things I want to really say is, when I first watched this movie, I looked up that this movie said it had like a budget of $30 to $40 million. Which is crazy to think, because that's very low, and I'm pretty sure there were other sources that said it was like around 10 or so, but apparently when it came out it said this movie had a budget of 152 million, which does make sense because, like I said, there was a lot of fucking characters, a lot of cameos in this movie. I do not think either they wanted to be on board with this film and wanted to have lots of fun with it, or this movie was just more expensive than I looked up. And I don't know why there's so much weird information out there. Like, really, every source that I find, there's a lot of people saying, oh, it's this much, it costed this much, but to be safe, I'm just gonna assume this movie actually did cost $152 million, because again, there was a lot of people in this film, or there was a lot of set designs, there was a lot of things that went into this. I seriously doubt this was all done for around 30 to 40. It would have been crazy, and I was ready to give this movie a lot of praise for it, really, because holy shit, Hollywood movies are very bloated. I just wish that record could get straight out there and people could stop saying that this movie was a 10 to 20 or $30 million project, because it is not. Maybe it is, and maybe some people are just fucking lying. I don't know. But yeah, overall, Happy Gilmore 2 is a fun movie. It's so much fun to see this movie come back after so many years. The characters are all pretty funny, and I think the performances were all really good. I didn't really find it offensive that much. I mentioned that I was going to talk about this. Boban Marjanovic had to replace his father's role as, you know, the character's father's role, because Richard Kiel, who played Mr. Larson, he also passed away like 11 years ago in 2014. And it was good that they decided to get someone to, you know, pay homage to him. They didn't really want him to go away. This movie seems like it just has a lot of heart to it. That's what I see when I watch Happy Gilmore 2. And honestly, like I said earlier, I just don't understand the hate with this film. I guess it's technically, okay, it's not like the best movie ever. It's definitely very cheesy, and, you know, it's very repetitive, and they do take a lot from the first movie. But I didn't mind that for this film. And again, it could be because I'm biased, and I really do enjoy Happy Gilmore 1 as it is. So that's just how I feel about it. I'm giving this movie an 8 out of 10. I thought it was very fun and enjoyable. People really, at least to me, I feel like are being a little bit too harsh on this. For it to be the worst movie they've ever seen, it's kind of crazy. They must have not have seen other films like War of the Worlds, or Lilo and Stitch, Snow White, or the Minecraft movie, or Megan 2. How can you say Happy Gilmore 2 is on the same level of those? I don't know. But that's all I want to say right now for this. Thank you again for watching, and if you want me to review something else, please let me know. And yeah, I'll see you in another one.